The most dangerous person in your life isn't the one who shouts loudly, slams the table, or starts arguments. No, the real danger comes in a softer form, hidden behind kindness, patience, and a smile so gentle, it makes you let your guard down. They don't need to raise their voice. They don't leave bruises. They simply rewrite your reality with small, purposeful words until you no longer trust your own instincts. And that's how they win. Evil isn't always screaming. Sometimes it sits right next to you, listens, acts understanding, and makes you believe, maybe I'm overthinking this. By the time you realize, you've been standing on ground they've quietly been pulling away piece by piece. In this video, I'm going to point out 8 subtle, almost invisible signs that show you're too close to someone who could quietly destroy you if you let them. If you're ready to see what most people miss, hit like and leave a comment if you're ready to face the truth before they twist it for you. They dilute your reality. No one comes into your life and says outright, I'm going to make you doubt yourself. No doubt they do it with gentleness, a soft smile, a seemingly harmless question. Are you sure that really happened? Just that, and you begin to pause for half a second before continuing. You start to check your memory. Then you hesitate when telling the story, worried you might have remembered it wrong. Little by little, they don't just change the facts, they make you doubt your own feelings. This is the most dangerous form of manipulation, because it doesn't make a sound. No one sees it, and you don't know when it started. At first, they deny one small detail. Then two. Eventually, you stop fighting back. You automatically adjust your memories to match theirs. I've seen this with a close friend. He worked with a colleague, smart, polite, never raised her voice. But whenever she made a mistake, she would say, I remember you agreeing to this. No one could prove anything, and he started apologizing for things he never did wrong. When I asked him, he simply said, I must have really forgotten. No, bro, you didn't forget. You've just been programmed to doubt yourself first. People who manipulate like this don't want to win an argument. They want to win inside your head. Once you no longer trust your instincts, you'll rely on them to interpret reality. And at that point, they don't need to speak loudly. They just need to whisper. Stoics understand this very well. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, if it's not true, don't say it. If it's not right, don't do it. But he wasn't just talking about words. He was talking about perception. Because if you let someone else define the truth for you, you'll lose track of which world you're living in. A Stoic won't try to argue with a manipulator. They stand still, observe. They keep their mind like still water. Not letting the stones others throw cause ripples. That's not indifference. It's discipline of perception. What's scary about gaslighting isn't the lies. It's when you start cutting away your own memories so everything feels less confusing. You give up your rationality to keep the peace. You stay silent to maintain harmony. But that peace isn't real. It's the price of losing yourself. A man who knows where he stands doesn't need others' approval. When they say, you're wrong, you simply smile and reply, maybe. But I know what I saw. No challenge, no defense. Just a simple statement from someone who has found reality within themselves. Gaslighting can't exist if you maintain inner calm, because the truth doesn't need anyone's approval. It just needs protection. And when you learn to hold on to it, their game ends. The manipulator only has power over those who seek approval. But someone who sees the truth cannot be led astray. When they can no longer make you doubt yourself, they'll find another way. They'll make you feel guilty for not doing what they want. And that's the next step, when they start playing the victim. Damn, bro, if the first time you got caught in the trap of they're always the victim, this time is when you need to understand the soft weapon they use to keep you still. Point 2. They're always the victim. You know how they show up when you need a day off. They text softly, I know you're tired. But have you thought about the kids? When you say, I need to focus on this project, they stay silent for a few seconds. Then say, yeah, but I feel like I'm being left behind. They don't need to scream. They just quietly make you feel guilty. They don't say, "I need your help." They say, "Do you remember when you were there for me?" And then you, the strong, responsible person, start to push. "I'm here. I'm still doing it." But every time you set a boundary, they look at you with eyes like they've been hurt. And suddenly you wonder, am I being selfish? Because the feeling of being the wounded party is a power play. When they present themselves as the victim of circumstances, of others, of your decisions, they put you in the responsible position. You willingly carry a burden that isn't yours to bear. They exploit your compassion, play on the thought, if I leave this person behind, I'll be the bad guy. A normal person, when they hear, "I'm going through a hard time," would ask, "Do you need help with anything?" and then leave if they aren't asked for more. They offer support, then move on with their lives. But a manipulator, they don't give you the chance to walk away. They turn your kindness into a series of responsibilities you never chose, but now bear. Epictetus said, "You are not suffering because of what happens to you, but by the view you take of what happens." Men with a Stoic mindset understand, you only have control over your reactions, not over when someone else plays the victim card. When someone constantly wants you to be the hero for them, you're losing your power of decision. A Stoic doesn't refuse to help, but a Stoic keeps a clear boundary between helping and being controlled. I once knew a friend who worked with a colleague, always claiming they were struggling, always needing support. Whenever a deadline came, the colleague would appear, "Oh, I'm under a lot of pressure. Can you help me with this?" And my friend, not wanting to be seen as mean, nodded. In the end, they worked overtime, ignored their personal matters, because I owe them. When they asked for the weekend off, the colleague's look was like, "So you're choosing to rest, not help me?" And my friend stayed silent. Empathy is good. Caring is good. But when you care and aren't respected, you're not helping. You're serving their agenda. Resilience isn't about tolerating every complaint. Resilience is recognizing when the burden isn't yours and letting it go. When someone says, "I'm struggling," you can respond, "I hear you. What do you need from me specifically?" If they don't have an answer, you have every right to step away. Take note, every time you help, do they show appreciation? Do they change? If not, you're stuck in the rescuer role, not the companion role. Ask yourself, am I responsible for their emotions? Or am I responsible for their choices? That difference is the boundary you need to hold. When you realize you're not the dumping ground for someone else's misery, the next idea is, they turn your kindness into your weakness. And really, bro, that's when the game switches to self-manipulation. Damn, bro, you think you're being strong when you say, "Okay, I'll help." But the truth is, someone else is smiling because they see you're willing to sacrifice. They don't need to give orders. They just need you to understand, if you're really a good person, you won't walk away. You won't say no. You won't set boundaries. And when you start setting boundaries, oh damn, you get looked at like you've changed your mind. They ask for your help. At first, it's just a small thing. "I'll be busy this week. Can you just help me out a bit?" You say sure. By the second, third, or fifth time, you're still saying yes, because you're a good person. Then when you say, "I need a break, I can't help," they go silent, or they sigh, or they say, "So, you don't care anymore." And suddenly, you feel guilty. You, the one who's always proactive, find yourself asking, am I being selfish? Do I really not care? It's like they turn your kindness into an invisible string, pulling you into the position of the sacrificial one, with no excuse. And sacrifice without choice goes against your self-respect, because kindness is an asset. If you let others define it, they understand you always want to be seen as the good one, and they exploit that. They don't force you with a command like "do this." They put you in the frame. A good person would do this. When you don't, you feel like a traitor. The bottom line, it's not that you lose your kindness. You lose your right to choose. When someone else takes the right to define goodness for you, you lose control over yourself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be ye one." This means, don't let others write the definition for you. Epictetus teaches, you only have control over your thoughts and actions. When you let someone else control your kindness, you give up that right. Stoicism doesn't teach you to be indifferent. It teaches you, kindness means something when it's your choice, not when you're forced into it. The Stoic way of life, live deliberately. You choose to help because of your values, not because they make you feel guilty if you don't. I know you, Jake, always taking on more work because I'm helping the team. But every time Jake refuses, his colleague just furrows his brow and says, "Oh, so you don't have priorities anymore?" Jake feels like he's losing his good guy label and starts taking on more work just to avoid being labeled unwilling. Then one day, Jake no longer takes time for himself. The look on others' faces when he says, "I need a break," is like, "So, you're choosing to ignore us." And Jake stays silent. He refuses but is haunted by the feeling. That's when kindness turns into weakness, because he didn't choose to refuse. He just feared being rejected by others. The next time someone asks, "Can you help me?" ask yourself, "Do I want to help? I will help because of my values, not because I feel like I have to." When you want to say no, don't explain for too long. Just say, "Sorry, I can't help this time. I have personal things to do." Write it down. My value in supporting is underscore underscore underscore. But I don't agree to support when underscore 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 underscore. Having a clear definition, not just following the feeling of being cornered. And the moment you realize that kindness without choice is weakness, then we move to the next point. They respect you selectively. Because the next move isn't about whether you help, but about what you think you deserve. You thought you were strong when you said, "Okay, I'll help," but the truth is, someone else is smiling because they see you're willing to sacrifice. They don't need to give orders. They just need you to understand, if you're really a good person, you won't walk away. You won't say no. You won't set boundaries. And when you start setting boundaries, oh damn, you get looked at like you've changed your mind. They ask for your help. At first, it's just a small thing. "I'll be busy this week. Can you just help me out a bit?" You say sure. By the second, third, or fifth time, you're still saying yes, because you're a good person. Then when you say, "I need a break, I can't help," they go silent, or they sigh, or they say, "So, you don't care anymore." And suddenly, you feel guilty. You, the one who's always proactive, find yourself asking, "Am I being selfish? Do I really not care?" It's like they turn your kindness into an invisible string, pulling you into the position of the sacrificial one, with no excuse. And sacrifice without choice goes against your self-respect. Because kindness is an asset. If you let others define it, they understand you always want to be seen as the good one. And they exploit that. They don't force you with a command like "do this." They put you in the frame. A good person would do this. When you don't, you feel like a traitor. The bottom line, it's not that you lose your kindness. You lose your right to choose. When someone else takes the right to define goodness for you, you lose control over yourself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be ye one." This means, don't let others write the definition for you. Epictetus teaches, you only have control over your thoughts and actions. When you let someone else control your kindness, you give up that right. Stoicism doesn't teach you to be indifferent. It teaches you, kindness means something when it's your choice, not when you're forced into it. The Stoic way of life, live deliberately. You choose to help because of your values, not because they make you feel guilty if you don't. I know you, Jake, always taking on more work because I'm helping the team. But every time Jake refuses, his colleague just furrows his brow and says, "Oh, so you don't have priorities anymore?" Jake feels like he's losing his good guy label and starts taking on more work just to avoid being labeled unwilling. Then one day, Jake no longer takes time for himself. The look on others' faces when he says, "I need a break," is like, "So, you're choosing to ignore us." And Jake stays silent. He refuses but is haunted by the feeling. That's when kindness turns into weakness, because he didn't choose to refuse. He just feared being rejected by others. The next time someone asks, "Can you help me?" ask yourself, "Do I want to help? I will help because of my values, not because I feel like I have to." When you want to say no, don't explain for too long. Just say, "Sorry, I can't help this time. I have personal things to do." Write it down. My value in supporting is _____, but I don't agree to support when _______. Having a clear definition, not just following the feeling of being cornered. And the moment you realize that kindness without choice is weakness, then we move to the next point. They respect you selectively. Because the next move isn't about whether you help, but about what you think you deserve. You sat with someone who used to be your silent ally, a close friend, a trusted partner, someone you once thought, "This guy would never betray me." And then he says it, lightly, like a breeze. "Wait, I didn't make that clear." Maybe you just understood it differently. You freeze. You clearly remember what he promised. You get the feeling. He knows what you've been holding back, but he doesn't deny it. He doesn't confirm it. He just stands there, letting you question yourself. That's a smart form of manipulation, purposeful omission. They don't make up stories. They don't lie. They just simply don't say everything. And that missing part of the truth is enough to make you fall apart, because you'll fill in the blanks with your imagination. And sometimes, with self-blame, a normal person makes a mistake and says, "Sorry, I was wrong." A manipulator smiles and says, "I didn't say anything wrong." You get angry, but you have nothing to argue with. You're confused, but you don't dare to claim you're right. You no longer trust your memory, and that makes you dependent. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What troubles you is not what happens to you, but how you view it." And they know how to twist how you see things. With just one unfinished sentence, a simple shake of the head, a purposeful gap, leaving you to feel confused. I once met a woman whose partner trapped her this way. He didn't betray her, at least, he never got caught, but he would often leave out details, secret hangouts, vague texts, small changes in habits. And whenever she asked, he'd just say, "I didn't think that was something you needed to know." She never had proof, but she always felt uneasy. And that feeling made her start thinking she was going crazy with jealousy. It wasn't jealousy, though. It was her intuition struggling to make sense of a maze of missing information. And the more the information is missing, the more you lose control. Stoicism doesn't teach us to be suspicious. It teaches us to be clear. Epictetus once said, "If you want peace, learn to live with the truth, even if it's hard to hear." The truth, with a manipulator, isn't something they deny. It's something they break down, and then only show you one piece of it. You see a puzzle piece, but you never see the whole picture. How to recognize it? If someone keeps saying, "I didn't say that," but never says, "Then what did I say?" If they always dodge the details and push the responsibility of understanding onto you. If the more you ask, the more they make you feel guilty for doubting them, then you need to stay sharp, really sharp. Stoics don't try to drag the truth out of someone who doesn't want to speak. They simply don't place trust in ambiguity. And if you realize someone always makes you guess, untangle, or interpret their words, they're not someone you should trust. Staying sharp doesn't mean being cold. Clarity doesn't mean suspicion. But if you want peace, you must demand clarity. Because once you get used to living in uncertainty, you'll accept deception. And the greatest deception, sometimes, doesn't come from what people say, but from what they purposely leave unsaid. When you learn how to stand firm in clarity, you'll no longer be dragged down by fragmented bits of information. you'll stop living in doubt, and that's when you take back your autonomy. And once you see this clearly, you'll easily recognize another, even subtler form of manipulation, when they don't just withhold information, but also withhold certainty, leaving you to live in a constant state of ambiguity. And that's point number 6. Let's move on. You see, there are people in your life who never say, "I'm committed." They always say, "Maybe, it depends. I'll check first, or we'll talk later." When you ask, "Okay, are we moving on to the next step?" you just get a half-hearted look or a vague "yeah." This behavior, no commitment, no clarity, and that's how they pull you into a state of unawareness, where your mind no longer lives for you, but revolves around their moods, words, and reactions. It seems small, just a few unfinished sentences, a few words, but if you go through this enough, you start to realize you don't know where you stand. You don't know what the plan is. You don't know when to stop or when to move forward. You just know waiting for clear words, waiting for a response, waiting for something. If you're a normal person, you ask clearly, "When are we doing this? What's the next step?" And you'll get a clear answer, or at least a time frame. But with a manipulator like this, instead of answering, "We'll do it Tuesday at 3 p.m., they say, "We'll see next week. Then I'm a little busy. Then I haven't decided. Then I need to think more." You start to feel like you're on a slow-moving escalator. You step up, but you're not reaching the floor you expect, and you have to get used to the feeling of uncertainty. Should I stay here and wait for them to decide? Should I leave? Am I being left hanging? The clever trap is, you're not forced to leave. You're forced to wait. You're forced to live in ambiguity. A Stoic would look at this and say, clarity is power. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. When someone makes you lose control of your mind by keeping you in a state of waiting, you're losing your power. I remember one time, a friend of mine was about to change jobs. He found a better company with clearer terms. He told his current manager, "I'll leave on day X," and the manager just said, "Yeah, we'll need to see the situation first." No paperwork, no specific date or agreement, and my friend stayed for another 6 months, unhappy, because he didn't know whether to leave or not. When you live in ambiguity, you lose direction. You lose the clear premise for your actions, the craving for certainty, and when it isn't met, you get shaken. Such uncertainty leads to self-doubt. Maybe I'm not decisive enough. Maybe I should wait a bit longer. When you no longer trust that you know what you want, that's when they've taken control. And that's the true power they have, not to force you to follow them, but to keep you there with maybe, with wait, with it depends. A normal person would say, "We'll start at this time and finish at that time." A manipulator says, "We'll see," and you're left waiting. But Stoics don't live in a state of waiting. They live proactively. Seneca once said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." If you don't know where you're going, every wind will make you waver. And when someone makes you feel uncertain, they're taking away your compass. The clear action lesson: ask the other person when. How do we start? Where's the stop point? If they don't answer clearly, you need to answer for them. "I'll decide. Today, I choose X." Set a time limit. If by day X I don't see a commitment, I'll move on to another option. What you control is your decision, not theirs. You don't need them to say "I decide" for you to act. After a period of living in psychological chaos, you start to feel like peace is unfamiliar. This is deep dependence. You're no longer used to the feeling of safety, so you continue to turn to the people who hurt you. You once thought rest, taking a break, a moment of stillness, was something you deserved. But then when you actually want peace, when you want to sink into a day without worries, a night without restlessness, you feel out of place. It's like when you're out there, always chasing something bigger than yourself, something bigger than fear, And just when you decide to stop, okay, I need a day of peace, a soft voice in your head whispers, does this mean I'm giving up the fight? Does this mean I'm quitting? That behavior, when someone turns your peace into a dangerous milestone, is a subtle form of manipulation. They don't say you're wrong for wanting peace. They just use their look, their silence, after you say, I need a break for a day, to make you question, am I being selfish? You start asking yourself, am I running away? Am I a failure? Then you hesitate. You push your search for peace to the second priority. You go back to chasing the game, because at least you still feel like you're participating. Epictetus said, there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. In other words, happiness and peace starts when you no longer allow things beyond your control to dictate your emotions. When you come back to yourself, not running from the chaos that others have pushed onto you. Compared to a regular person, when they feel tired, they rest. They allow themselves to not fight. But you, if you're near someone who makes you fear peace, you allow yourself to have to fight even when you should rest. You become the person trying to prove you're watching the fight, even when all you need to do is watch yourself live. Empathy, you're allowed to need peace. You don't always have to be in fight mode to be recognized. Perspective, when you start seeing peace as strange, ask yourself, when did I forget how to live just to live? Resilience, true strength doesn't just come from never-ending fighting, but from knowing when to stop, from allowing yourself to be still, then continuing to act from a place of safety, not from chaos. And when you realize that peace isn't a goal waiting for permission, but a right you have, then you begin to take back the power others have used to control your fear. You choose your own playing field. You choose to say, I don't need to prove I'm stronger than the trouble. I just need to be strong enough to choose to stop when everything overwhelms me. Because as Marcus Aurelius once wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. There's no clear evidence, no explosion. It's just, you always feel tired, empty after every encounter with them. And that's the biggest sign. They don't destroy you with their hands, they do it with their energy. You step into a conversation, no shouting, no loud words, no clear insults. It's just their look, their voice, a little slow, a little empty, a little tired, and then you walk away, and you find yourself empty. You can't pinpoint the exact moment they hurt you. You just know when you get home. You quietly sit down on the chair, hands on the table, sigh. Your heart isn't racing, but there's definitely a void. A piece of your energy is gone, and you don't remember what you gave. You just know you feel emptier than before. This is the most subtle form of manipulation. Not thunder, not a punch, but those small, tiny moments, a compliment seemingly kind. But when you needed it, they stayed silent. A time you shared joy, and they took a sip and just quietly UHA before changing the subject. They don't say you're wrong. They just don't say anything. And you start asking yourself, what am I doing wrong? Why is it so effective? Because your mind, your mechanism, is designed to seek meaning. When others don't say anything, you fill in the gaps with the assumption that you're at fault. Instead of them acting, you tie yourself up. You feel the tension. You look for mistakes. You justify yourself. You map out your behavior to not make them tired. And each time, you drain your energy without them needing to lift a finger. But a normal person, when they meet someone who drains them, they say, thanks, I need a break. They set boundaries and walk away. But when you're being drained like this, you don't have the right to walk away. You don't feel like you've rested. You just feel, I still have to keep going. Because if you stop, you fear losing what little is left, acceptance, being okay with them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, meaning, if every time you leave an encounter, you're carrying a burden, then you're allowing others to control Not just their words, but their silences in your mind. A Stoic doesn't say avoid everyone who makes you tired. They say, keep your mind, your foundation, untrodden. When you feel like you're being drained, ask, what's left after that conversation? Do I still feel in control? Am I becoming a better version of myself, or just a more tired version? When you know, the emptiness you feel after meeting them isn't just I'm tired today, but a signal you've started to regain control. You stand up, place your hand on your chest, and say, I don't deserve to be drained like this by a conversation. You don't need to shout. You don't need to walk away. You just need to choose differently. You sit down, close your eyes for a moment, and repeat, I don't need to pour all my energy into someone who doesn't value it. Because as Stoics remind us, strength is not just about endurance, but about choosing not to be manipulated. Next time you feel drained, every time you walk away from a conversation, that's when you stop and ask, who's using your energy? Who's taking without having to give back? Who's making you feel tired without ever checking if you're okay? When you realize you don't need to shout, you just need to be silent and step out of that space with one inner question. I deserve to get my energy back. And when you do that, you're starting to recover. You're no longer someone else's game. You take back the control of your own playing field. That's your map, and it's yours to navigate. You've just gone through 8 silent traps, questions that seem harmless, but are designed to pull you away from yourself without you even realizing it. Each one doesn't just manipulate behavior. It erodes confidence, distorts emotions, and makes you forget who you are. And now, the deepest point of all, remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That is your anchor. A manipulator can control the atmosphere, the mood, the doubt, but they can only control your mind when you allow it. This video isn't just to expose manipulation. It's here to help you take back your boundaries, take back your power of choice, take back your peace, without asking for permission from anyone. You're not walking this path alone. Peace is power. Silence is strength. Live with intention. And here's the first action. Ask yourself, when was the last time you felt completely free in a relationship, a decision, a moment? If you can't answer right away, you know where to start. Leave a comment with the thought that stood out to you most after watching this video. Send this video to a brother who needs to open their eyes at the right moment. And if you want more hard truths, hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and I'll see you in the next video. We all carry invisible battles. Let's lift each other up. See you in the next video of the Stoic Seeds journey, where every quiet thought becomes a seed of strength.